Love them or hate them, filler episodes are here to stay. But what is a filler episode? Well, it's actually quite difficult to explain. A filler episode can be really experimental. For example, tackle a different genre, or change the focus from the Doctor to a different character or companion, and they are usually before the finale. There is also no definitive list for these types of episodes, so here is mine, and these are the episodes I will be ranking in this list. Number 10. It Takes You Away. Now, It Takes You Away is a bit of a strange one. I really enjoyed all the scenes in the anti-zone, and I especially really liked the character of Ribbons. He was so creepy and mysterious. But when it got to the other side of the mirror and we met Grace, it started to get really odd. And that frog scene was just ridiculous. I feel that it was an interesting concept, but it was far too drawn out, and like I say, I feel the frog scene just took the strange to a whole new level. Number 9. The Eaters of Light. I like the dynamic of the Doctor and Bill being separated throughout most of the episode. I also really do like the monsters. I love how they suck all the light out of you, and the design is awesome. The gateway was a very cool idea, with seeing all the monsters inside there. It was also cool how we saw how quickly time could pass when you're inside. But the big problem was, nothing really happens, and the ending was so drawn out and really anticlimactic. I do think the issue was that it was a classic writer, and that the style of the classics just didn't seem to translate well in New Who. Well, in this episode anyway. But it does give us more of Missy's arc, and it leads really well into the finale. Number 8. Sleep No More. Now, I did say fillers can be experimental, and this episode is really experimental. It almost felt like being in a video game, with the constant glitching effects and the first person view. I really like the concept with Morpheus, and the fact that the Sandmen are sleep dust is so chilling. But it's the constant narration, unanswered questions, and a very confusing ending that puts this episode this low on the list. I do get what they were going for, but all the constant questions made it really hard to follow. Number 7. Lovin' Monsters. Lovin' Monsters. What can I say about this episode? Some people love it, some people hate it, but for me, it's kind of in the middle. I don't really like Elton, as I find him really annoying, and unfortunately, he's the main character in this. But I really like the Absorbaloft. It's crazy to think this was designed by a kid. And now that kid's a YouTuber. Shout out to you, Channel Pup. Although it did go over my head as a kid, the ending always makes me feel really uncomfortable. Number 6. The Power of Free. The Power of Free, the long, boring invasion. But surprisingly, that wasn't the problem. I really liked the idea of the cube invasion, and thought seeing the Doctor go through a normal life was very entertaining. Plus, you've got to love how it had Unit involved, and it gave us Kate Stewart. No, the big problem was the ending. It felt really rushed, and the monster was really dull and not very well introduced. Number 5. The Lodger. From being stuck with his companions to being without them, in The Lodger the Doctor and Amy are split up, and the Doctor has to go undercover as Craig's Lodger. Something shady is going on upstairs, which is an intriguing mystery, and the episode is really well paced. The ending did work quite well, but at the end of the day, it was a love story. Number 4. Boomtown. The more I rewatch this, the more I enjoy it. I do think though that this episode is a bit pointless. We get Captain Jack back as well as the Slovene, but through the character of Margaret, who was a really well developed character. And the ending is very climactic. At the end of the day, it's just a fun, entertaining episode. Number 3. Closing time. Guess who's back? It's Craig as well as the Cybermen and even the Cybermats. The setting is great and the constant power drains make this episode really exciting. But it's when we get to the cybership and Craig gets upgraded where this episode becomes amazing. The only problem I have with it is that the resolution is a bit soppy. I mean, killing the Cybermen with love? Really? That ending though, it is so cinematic and it leads perfectly into the finale. Number 2. Turn left. Turn left is such a genius idea. What if Donna never went with the Doctor? We then start to see everything go wrong. The Doctor dies and the whole world is put in danger. It's so raw and real. It reminds me quite a lot of the amazing show Years and Years, which is actually written by Russell T Davies, the original New Who showrunner. And Philip Hawkins made a trailer in the style of Years and Years for this exact episode. It works perfectly. We also have Rose, who leads the episode into the finale so well. This episode is just amazing! And that brings us to number 1. But before we do that, here are a few honourable mentions. In the Forest of the Night. Can you hear me? Number 1. Blink. I may have once said Blink is overrated, but it truly is a masterpiece. The Doctor contacting the main character, Sally Sparrow, on the TV through the tapes is so clever. It also gives us probably the scariest villain, the Weeping Angels. They are amazing, and they were iconic from the moment we first saw them. The story is so well paced, and the characters are great. It's really hard to fault. So that's my list. What do you think? Do you agree with my list? Please let me know down in the comments below. If you're new, feel free to click the red button down below to join the adventure. I've been Lewis, and you've been brilliant!
So crazy passion and we wanted you to know. So are you sitting comfortably? Our tribute to the show is if we had to choose another, we just want